How are we doing, everybody? Welcome into the channel today. Trey here today, coming at you with my first NFL mock draft on the channel. And I'm just going to preface this video by letting you guys know I don't claim to be a draft expert. I don't claim to watch a bunch of tape. I'm just a guy who loves college football, loves the NFL, and loves the NFL draft season most importantly. And today, as you guys see with the title of this video, there are going to be trades involved. I am going to go ahead and make moves if I feel like a team needs to move down from a spot or if a team's jumping up to take a guy. I'll go ahead and talk through those decisions, why I think a team would move down the spot, why a team might move up. Obviously, since it's just the first round mock draft, I'm not going to worry about making sure I have the picks right because who knows how many picks are going to get thrown in, what players might get thrown in when teams are moving up and down. But I'll go ahead and talk through everything, of course, and I'm not going to waste much of your time. Let's get right into this. It starts off here with the Carolina Panthers, who are picking number 1 overall after moving up from 9. They gave up a handful of assets to the Chicago Bears, who moved down to 9 and picked up DJ Moore as well. And everyone knows the reason why Carolina didn't is because they are maybe not locked in on a certain quarterback, but they are locked in at the quarterback position. And I think in this situation, there's 3 guys that they're probably going to look at number 1. I don't think Will Levis will end up going number 1 to Carolina. I think it'll be one between CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. Starting with CJ Stroud, he is the favorite right now to be the first overall pick here in the draft. I think if you look at CJ Stroud, you see how well he's thrown the ball at the combine, how well he threw the ball at his pro day, how well he just throws the ball in general. I think Carolina probably likes the fact that he's able to get the ball out to playmakers, and we know that he's thrown it to playmakers like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., just to name a few in the past couple years. And obviously he did it at a high level at Ohio State. So CJ Stroud, I understand the appeal there, but at the same time, there's just, I don't know. I don't know. In my head, it's just hard. It's weird to think that CJ Stroud's the number 1 overall pick, but he absolutely could be, and he could become a great quarterback in the NFL. The next quarterback, obviously, to talk about, Bryce Young, right behind CJ Stroud. I think Bryce Young's dynamic ability inside and outside the pocket to make plays is what intrigues me most about Bryce Young. Obviously, size can be a little bit of concern with him because he is how tall was he listed at? Like 5'11", maybe. But as long as he can see over his offensive line, I think he's a great pick. I think he might have the highest floor out of all these quarterbacks. Also still has a really high ceiling. But I think Bryce Young, in my opinion right now, this is what I'm seeing, I think he's the safest pick out of all 3 of the quarterbacks that are probably going to look to go number 1 overall. I think if I was Carolina, I'd probably be looking to take Bryce Young, but who knows if that's what they're going to end up doing. Number 3, obviously Anthony Richardson. That's the talk. That's been the talk since the NFL Combine. Anthony Richardson. The physical tools are off the charts. They know what the ceiling is you can't even tap into how high his ceiling is going to be. He could become an insane quarterback just based off his physical tools, his intangibles, things you can't teach. Anthony Richardson has them. Obviously, the thing about him is that he's a lot more raw. He doesn't have as much success like CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and even Will Levis do. But I think if you're a team like Carolina who just traded a bunch of stuff up to get up to the plate to pick number 1 overall, you might as well swing for the fences and go Anthony Richardson. But that being said, I am going to take the chalk pick and I am going to go ahead and select CJ Stroud for the Carolina Panthers. I think that's what they're going to end up doing in real life at the time of recording this. It just makes the most sense. But obviously we'll see. Houston now here sitting here at 2. This one, I think it's a little bit easier. I think Houston's in a situation where you're kind of just taking whichever one doesn't go. And I think it's between CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, so I'm going to go ahead and give them Bryce Young here at number 2. Now, moving on to Arizona here at 3. This is a spot where a lot of people have Arizona potentially moving down because they don't need quarterback, and there's a lot of teams that are hungry for a quarterback. And with Anthony Richardson and Will Levis both on the board, it's an absolute spot where you can see Arizona moving down. If they're not going to look to move down, defense, you basically can pick your number 1 player on your board, because everyone is on the board still. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, maybe they go DB, Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon. I think if they do stick and pick, it's going to be Will Anderson, but I am going to have them moving down here. And I am going to have them moving down. And I have them moving down, as you guys just saw, with Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is in a position where they don't want someone to come in and jump them and take the quarterback they want. I think they're kind of locked in on, maybe not locked in on a guy, but locked in on, okay, if these 2 go before our pick, we know who we want. And in this situation, I was kind of torn between, well, can we stop with these ads? I was kind of torn between Anthony Richardson and Will Levis at the moment. The Colts it sounds like they're maybe considering Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Don't know if or think that's really going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being Anthony Richardson. And that's who I'm going to go ahead and have them taking. I'm going to have the Colts moving up one spot for Anthony Richardson. Obviously there I just flip picks, but it's going to be obviously a handful of things just to move up one spot because people want quarterback, which now brings the Cardinals right back on the clock. And in this situation, I don't think there's a team that's going to be needy enough to go up and get Will Levis. Maybe the Raiders would consider it. Maybe even the Titans would consider it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all teams that might need quarterback. But I think they'd end up sticking and picking at this point after moving down one spot. And I'm going to have the Arizona Cardinals taking Will Anderson out of Alabama. My favorite edge rusher in the class, a lot of people's favorite edge rusher in the class. I think the talent is off the charts. I think if you just watch his sophomore tape alone, I mean, he was projected to go number 1 overall just based off that one season. Obviously, might have not been as good this year. Had some more, I guess, concerns pop up, but I think the talent level's off the charts. Which brings us to Seattle here at 5. Seattle, they could hypothetically go quarterback. I'm not going to have them go quarterback. I don't think it makes a ton of sense at this spot. I think you're just boosting up the team at this point. I feel like they're already in a good spot, and Geno Smith can continue to just give you solid seasons. You just have to build a good team around him. And in this spot at 5, there's not an offensive guy I think that they would go ahead and take. It's going to be defense. And I think with the Jalen Carter concerns that have popped up recently, I think this has moved this pick to pretty easy selection in Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson, 5 to Seattle. I love the fit. I love the idea of Tyree Wilson. You get a really athletic edge, big, strong guy coming off the edge for Seattle, and I think it just makes too much sense. Which brings us to Detroit here at 6. Detroit, obviously a team that just missed the playoffs last year. Got to get better on defense. Offense, I mean, Jared Goff, we'll see. I mean, Jared Goff's proven he can win games. I mean, he might not win you the Super Bowl. He can get you there, partially with a good defense, but he's good enough to, win games for you, and that's why I don't have them going quarterback here at 6 either. Jalen Carter, the intrigue is there, right there. Jalen Carter's just falling into your lap, and I think the intrigue is too much for me to pass up. If I'm the Detroit Lions and Jalen Carter's on the board, I'm taking Jalen Carter. So I'm going to go ahead and give them Jalen Carter here at 6. I think it makes too much sense for them not to do it. And now we have the Raiders picking here at 7. And Raiders, I mean, they're in a similar situation to a lot of these teams. It's just not a good roster. Yes, they have more of a quarterback concern. They just signed Garoppolo to a few-year deal, but that's not long-term. That's just a Band-Aid. And Will Levis is here at 7. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go ahead and take Will Levis. Defensively, I love the idea of Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon. I mean, even Lucas Van Ness hypothetically could go this high. There's a lot of good options. I mean, we just talked about the corners, defensive tackle, Kalijah Kancey I like. Brian Bressee's kind of fallen off a little bit on boards. We'll see what he does in real life. Not thinking linebacker, not thinking safety. If it's offense, I think you either go offensive tackle or you go ahead and take defense. If you're not going to go and take Will Levis, but in this situation, I am going to go ahead and give a chalky pick, and I am going to take Will Levis there out of Kentucky for the Las Vegas Raiders, which brings us to 8, the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons in this spot. You're definitely in best player available situation. So you're definitely looking up and down the board. You're probably taking the top guy on your board. If you are Atlanta, is that Christian Gonzalez? Is it Devin Witherspoon? Is it Lucas Van Ness? Is it Nolan Smith? There's a handful of defensive guys. Do you want an offensive lineman? There's options there. But in this spot, I think I'm going to have the Atlanta Falcons move down in the draft. And I'll show you guys here shortly who it's going to be. The Atlanta Falcons are going to be moving down and making a trade here with a very offensive tackle needy team, and it's going to be the New York Jets. Obviously, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and flip the picks because I ain't worried about what exactly they're going to give. But Jets are moving up here to 8. The reason why I have the Jets moving up here to 8 is that they absolutely need offensive tackle, and I think that is what they're set on in the NFL draft. And if you looked at the teams in front of them, the Bears absolutely could go offensive tackle. The Titans absolutely could go offensive tackle. The Texans absolutely can go offensive tackle. And if you don't want to risk it and maybe take the worst one of the 40 you may have targeted, you go ahead and move up and take your favorite one. And in this spot, since I went ahead and did that offensive tackle for the New York Jets, I am going to set Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. I think, he automatically moves in. He can play right tackle. He can play left tackle. Whatever you want him to play, I think the Jets go up and get their guy, and that is Paris Johnson here. Which leaves us here with the Chicago Bears, and I think this is a no-brainer if you're Chicago here at 9. Paris Johnson's right ahead of you. You need help on the offensive line. You need to protect your most valuable asset in Justin Fields. Let's grab Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. Skoronski can play inside. He can play outside. I think listed here as an offensive tackle. Don't be surprised if he moves and plays guard for the Chicago Bears. I think he's just a great offensive lineman, and I don't think there's honestly, outside of injury potential, that's anyone in the NFL. I think he's maybe the safest offensive line pick ever. I think he's going to be a good player, guaranteed. Which brings us to Philadelphia at 10. This is another spot I consider maybe moving down, just because they're the Philadelphia Eagles, and they don't absolutely need anything. There's teams that are probably going to be chomping at the bit to move up and take this pick. But in this situation, maybe the best, best DB, not the best. In this situation, the best DB just fell into your lap. You're taking him. Christian Gonzalez is here at 10. I don't think Philly fans could ask for anything more. Christian Gonzalez, good enough to maybe even go at 4 to the Arizona Cardinals. My favorite cornerback in the class, along with a lot of other players. Christian Gonzalez's intangibles are off the charts. And if you're a Philly fan, you can get him at 10. You're screaming to the rooftops because that's a great pick. Tennessee here at 11. This is another team that just has an immaculate amount of holes. They need to figure out what they need to do defensively, offensively. There's just a problem here. Tennessee is not a good football team. It is a bad football team. In the spot, though, Taylor Lewan, obviously you just cut. I think there's a great offensive tackle on the board. They're going to go ahead and take one. I think Broderick Jones out of Georgia is going to be the pick there. 2-11 to Tennessee. I think it makes a lot of sense. Might as well grab the third, probably on paper on a lot of people's. Some people might have him as the best offensive tackle in the class, and I really like Broderick Jones as a player. I think it makes sense for Tennessee to do that there. Which brings us to the Houston Texans here at 12. Houston Texans here at 12. Took Bryce Young at 2. If you're going to go, I don't think that this is an offensive spot by chance. You could go crazy and grab Bijan Robinson, but I'm not going to do that. Receiver, they could use it, but are you going to take one there at 12? Maybe they could, but I'm not going to go ahead and do it. I am going to move this to the defensive side of the ball, where I think, in my opinion, this is a pretty good spot for this guy. I might scroll down a little bit. Where is he? There he is. Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Go ahead and take him at 12. Probably had the best combine out of anybody that, performed at the combine. I think he's flying up draft boards. I think Nolan Smith at 12 is a good spot. I could see Philly taking him at 10 if maybe Christian Gonzalez doesn't even get there, or they could still take him. Who knows? The NFL draft, no one knows what's going to happen. That's the fun of it, and that's why these NFL mock drafts are fun, but Nolan Smith there at 12. I think you just go ahead and take an athlete for that Houston defense, have him come off the edge and see if he can make plays for you for sure. Now we're back, Atlanta Falcons back at 13. This is an interesting spot for me because it's getting to a point where I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing receiver go, and the Falcons for sure could use some more weapons. They just announced Desmond Ridder is going to be their starting quarterback here recently too. So would they try to help Desmond Ridder out, maybe get him some few more weapons? Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Jackson Smith, and Jigba? Maybe. Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. There's a handful of guys that, you wouldn't take them this high, but there's a handful of guys they could look at if they were really in love with the receiver. But in the spot at 13, I think with Devin Witherspoon on the board, I think you go ahead and take Devin Witherspoon. I think probably, some people's CB1, he's here at 13. You might as well go ahead and take him. Falcons need help everywhere. Let's just grab another potential elite cornerback. Patriots here at 14. My thought here is Isaiah Wynn's a free agent. The offensive tackles are flying off the board. If you want to get an offensive tackle that you like, you might as well take one now if you can. And I'm going to have him take Darnell Wright here out of Tennessee. I think with Isaiah Wynn obviously gone, you're trying to solidify that right tackle position. Trent Brown, obviously, maybe has 2 years left on his contract. You can obviously move Darnell Wright over to left tackle eventually if you need to. But I just think shoring up that offensive line, protect Mac Jones as much as you can. I think it makes sense for the Patriots in that situation. So I'm going to I went ahead and have them taking Darnell Wright. Packers here at 15. Interesting spot. Jordan Love. At this moment, Aaron Rodgers hasn't officially been traded to the Jets, but it basically sounds like I'm either going to retire or I'm going to be a Jet. So you're basically looking at Jordan Love at quarterback. Do you go ahead and give Rodgers a big FU and take a wide receiver, even though they haven't taken a wide receiver in the first round in like 20 years? I just think that's funny. How funny would that be if that's what if the Packers, the first year they don't have Aaron Rodgers, they take a first round wide receiver? It would just be comical. But I'm not going to do that here. Tight end in play. They just lost Bobby Tonyan to the Chicago Bears. I mean, I don't really think lost, more just like didn't re-sign him and he signed with the Bears. Could take tight end here, but I also think it might be a little too early for tight end, which puts me on the defensive side of the ball where the Packers definitely have holes to fill as well. And I'm going to take a guy who I just feels like to me he's a Green Bay Packer. It just makes me feel like he just sounds like a Green Bay Packer, and it's going to be Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa. Powerful rusher. I think Lucas Van Ness just fits the mold of what Green Bay wants to do, and I really like Lucas Van Ness. I could see him going. I mean, hypothetically, he could go as high as like 7, 8. I mean, he's that good of a player. But the Packers, he falls in the Packers' lap there at 15. I think it's a no-brainer, and he just Iowa Hawkeye to Green Bay Packer. It just makes sense. Commanders here at 16. This is a funny one for me because I know the idea of like Joey Porter Jr. going to the Steelers intrigues people and it excites people because that's where his dad played and it just makes so much sense. But Commanders, this is what they should do if he's on the board. Take Joey Porter Jr. Commanders just need help on their defensive side of the ball, like outside of their front seven. Linebacker could use help as well, but you're not taking a linebacker here at 16. Just get a really good secondary corner. I think Joey Porter Jr., like I said, I'm not a big tape guy, but I mean, I think Joey Porter Jr. he might have the best tape out of any corner. So Joey Porter Jr.'s ability is insane, and I love him in Washington there. And it'd just be funny if they took him right over the Pittsburgh Steelers because, the Steelers definitely probably wanted to take him. So it brings Steelers here at 17. Joey Porter Jr. would have been my pick, but I just went ahead and the Commanders took him. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I think they need to take, which would be offensive line now in the spot. And I'm going to give them Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. Just need an offensive lineman. Dan Moore's playing tackle for you. You don't really have a guy on the other side right now. I mean, you got Okaroffer, but you need offensive line help. Okaroffer, I don't even know if that's how you say it. Yeah, check out Steelers franchise below if you want to watch me mispronounce people's names, like Okaroffer. But Antoine Harrison pick there. You can plug him in left, right tackle. Figure it out. I think that's a good pick there for Steelers at 17. Detroit now at 18. We had him taking Jalen Carter earlier at 6. I'm in a spot where I think I just keep beefing up this defense. I don't think they would go offense in this spot per se. I mean, they still could, but I think defense would be the spot here that I would be looking at. Myles Murphy stands out, but the guy who stands out even more that I would hate for it to happen as a Minnesota Viking fan is Deonte Banks, and that's who I'm going to take here. Deonte Banks at 18 out of Maryland. Intangibles, physical tools off the charts, maybe the most athletic DB in the class. Yeah, I think if you're a Lions fan and you walk out of the draft with Jalen Carter and Deonte Banks, you better be smiling ear to ear. You better be grinning right at me as a Viking fan because it's going to make me sick. But I think that's the move for the Lions there at 18. Deonte Banks out of Maryland. Brings us to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at 19. Tampa Bay, it kind of looks like they're basically going into fire sale. Not even fire sale, but replaced everybody. Let's get younger. Let's get out of cap hell, and let's figure out what we're going to do for the future. In this spot, which is absolutely a spot where maybe someone would move up into the spot. Would Tampa Bay move down here and get more assets just to get younger and maybe, cut some more cap? They absolutely could. I don't know who, teams would be so in love with at the moment to go up and take, per se. I mean, the only thought is like Bijan Robinson at 19. Would someone be like, I want Bijan Robinson bad. I need to make sure I get him on that 5th-year option. Let's go up and take him. I mean, I could see that happen. There's teams that the Chargers could definitely be interested. The Ravens could be interested. The Cowboys could be interested. There's teams that definitely be interested in Bijan Robinson. But I am going to have the Buccaneers stick and pick here. And there's a couple, like I said, there's a couple guys I like from them. I think Myles Murphy's a good pick for them by chance. Kalijah Kancey I really like as well. There's a handful of guys that I think would make sense here for Tampa Bay. But Myles Murphy's on the board. I think you just go ahead and take maybe best player on the board, and it's going to be Myles Murphy out of Clemson, a guy who was getting, top 10, top 5, almost like top 10, top 7, almost top 5 hype earlier in the cycle. But you know how it is, draft fatigue, people fall off the board a little bit. And Myles Murphy at 19, I think that's a great value pick there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which brings us back to Seattle here at 20. Went ahead and who do they take? We got Tyree Wilson at 5 for them. So at 20, I think this is a spot where you could see offensive guard go for the first time. I'm going to give them O'Cyrus Torrence out of Florida. Just seems like a Seahawk kind of pick. Just, kind of beef up that offensive line. They like to run the football with Kenneth Walker. Why not get a guy that can do that for you in O'Cyrus Torrence? Like that pick there for them. Which brings us to the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers. Austin Eckler requested a trade. Don't know if that's going to happen. Bijan Robinson sitting here. If you think he's going to end up leaving, maybe you take Bijan. Wide receiver could make sense. Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, and Keenan Allen. Mike Williams, they just extended here, a year ago. Keenan Allen has his injury concerns. We'll see what Joshua Palmer can do kind of as that full-time third guy. He needs to stay healthy as well. But yeah, so receiver absolutely in play. Tight end, I think, makes a lot of sense. It's just the question is, do you take a tight end here when you might be able to move down and still get one? Offensive line, don't think in this spot it would happen. Makes me go right into the defense. Cam Smith, corner, Emmanuel Forbes, Tyreek Stevenson, potentially. There's still a couple of good front seven guys. You got Kalijah Kancey still here, Brian Bresee. But in this spot, it's tough because I'm torn between giving him Bijan Robinson, giving him like a receiver in JSN or Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, maybe even Quentin Johnson, Jalen Hyatt. There's a lot of guys that I could see the Chargers hypothetically wanting. I think tight end is absolutely in play. I just don't know if it'll happen here. Defensively, Kalijah Kancey, does he fit the mold? I don't know. Corners, Cam Smith, by chance, potentially could be Cam Smith. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with my guns. I'm going to give him Jackson Smith-Njigba here out of Ohio State. It gives him a slot receiver to put in between. I don't know. We'll see about Joshua Palmer, but JSN comes in, plays right in between Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Even Keenan Allen, he's getting older. You move Joshua Palmer more to that side, and then boom, JSN's still sitting there on the side. I love JSN there at 21. Brings us to the Ravens here at 22. I think this is also, I'm in a similar situation where who knows what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson? If Lamar's on the roster, you probably take receiver. If Lamar's not on the roster, you probably maybe look elsewhere. But in the spot, Lamar's on the roster, I'm going to give him Zay Flowers out of Boston College. I really like Zay Flowers as a player. I think outside of JSN, he's my favorite receiver in the class at this exact moment. Zay Flowers at 22, I think, makes a lot of sense. And that brings us to my favorite team in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings. I know who I'd want in this situation. Unfortunately with Deonte Banks, Joey Porter going off the board. I'm still in on taking cornerback. I'm still cool with Cam Smith. Ringo, I don't think is gonna. We'll see what happens with Ringo, but Ringo went from top 5 talent, top 10 talent to falling out of the first round. But with that happening at 23, I think you're between two spots here in Minnesota. You're either at wide receiver where you see Jordan Addison, Jalen Hyatt, Quentin Johnson, Josh Downs, or you go ahead and take interior defensive line, and you take Brian Bresee or Kalijah Kancey. Here at 23 in this spot, I think on your board, you have Kalijah Kancey higher than you have some of these wide receivers, so I'm going to give them Kalijah Kancey out of Pitt. I think Kalijah Kancey gives the Vikings the interior pass rush that they covet and don't have at all. And I think it just makes sense to them at 23. If Kalijah Kancey makes their 23, which I don't even think might happen. He's good enough to go top 15. Top 10 damn near potentially. Top 15, but in this he fell into the Vikings' lap. I think they probably have him higher than some guys, some receivers on their board. So Kalijah Kancey makes it to Minnesota at 23. Jaguars at 24. This is going to be a very chalk pick. I've seen this all over the place, but it's because I agree with it. It's Brian Branch. Supposedly the Jaguars are in love with Brian Branch's game. I'm in love with Brian Branch's game, but enough where he falls right into the Jaguars. They don't have to make a move for him. They don't have to do anything. Brian Branch is a Jacksonville Jaguar. Brings us to the New York Giants, who, it's weird for a team that needs receiver. they've signed a bunch of band-aids still. Like, it makes me think, I think they're doing it so in case there's a receiver that doesn't make it to them, like a guy that if the receivers that they want don't make it to them, they're still fine for this upcoming year. But in this case, the receivers that they might want do make it to them. It's going to be Jordan Addison here out of USC. If he's falling right to the Giants, I feel like Jordan Addison's got to be the guy you take. I like Josh Downs. I like Hyatt. I like Quentin Johnson still, but I think Jordan Addison's the best talent on the board at that point. Brings me into the Dallas Cowboys, and although in a way, I think Bijan's going higher than 26. Bijan Robinson, it makes too much sense. Keep Bijan in Texas. Dallas Cowboys, Zeke's gone. Pollard just got tagged. Why not just bring in Ezekiel Elliott 2.0? Ezekiel Elliott plus Saquon Barkley. I mean, that's how good this guy as a prospect is. Bijan Robinson could come in and give you top 5 fantasy numbers in year 1 if healthy. He's that good of a player. Bijan at 26. Like I said, I could see him going all the way up as high as like 12. I mean, anywhere in that spot. If a team falls in love with him, they want to move up and take him. He's that good of a player. It's just a first-round running back. But at least you still get that 5th-year option at a first-round running back. So, Bijan at 26 to Dallas. It makes too much sense. Might as well just go ahead and do it. Bills here at 27. They need help offensively. And in this spot, Josh Downs, Quentin Johnson, Jalen Hyatt could be. Tight end, Kincaid, Mayer, Darnell Washington could be. But the way the Buffalo Bills, they like to take the top off the defense. This might be a little bit of a weird one. I am going to give them Jalen Hyatt here at 27. Jalen Hyatt's ability to get open down the field. It just seems like, it was like, I saw a video of Steve Smith talking about Jalen Hyatt. He's like, he's always open. How is he always open? I know, because he takes the top off the defense. Diggs, Gabe Davis, and Jalen Hyatt, that's a scary tandem of 3. I think Jalen Hyatt makes sense for Buffalo. They just need more help offense. They need more weapons for Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback in the league. It's time to help him out even more. Bengals here at 28. It's offensive tackle for me, and it's going to be DeJuan Jones out of Ohio State, keeping him in Ohio. I think DeJuan Jones has the ability to maybe be one of the best tackles in the class, if not the best tackle in the class. I just think he's in a situation where he's not as polished as these other guys, so he's going to fall down the board. Big dude, 6'8". DeJuan Jones, the Bengals, makes sense. Jonah Williams requested a trade. They need offensive line. They need to protect Joe Burrow. The dude just cannot stop getting under pressure and getting sacked. Might as well help him out with DeJuan Jones. Bringing us down to the last 3 picks here of the draft. We are here at 29 with the New Orleans Saints. And Saints are in a spot, kind of similar thing where it's like, we just need players. Like, we just need decent players because we're not that great of a team at the moment. The way the board's kind of shaping up, I think Mozzie Smith is a pick that makes a lot of sense for them. Edge rushing wise, I don't know exactly how to say Adetomiwa Adebawore. I want to say Adebawore. That's probably absolutely incorrect. I like Adebawore as a player. Linebacker, I'm in love with Drew Sanders. I like Jack Campbell. Trent Simpson's cool too. Don't think it would be linebacker. You want a cornerback? Definitely could be an option. Cam Smith still on the board. Emmanuel Forbes, Tyreek Stevenson, Ringo, Clark Phillips. There's options here. In this spot, man, I am going to go ahead and stick with my gun. I'm going to give him Mozzie Smith here out of Michigan. I think Bressee's falling. I think Mozzie Smith is climbing, and I think that's a spot right there where I might have used to have Brian Bresee go there, but it's going to be Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. Keeping us here at 30, we had Christian Gonzalez go earlier for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is absolutely a spot where you might see teams move up, make trades, do stuff in order to. But I am going to have him take Adebawore out of Northwestern. I think, the Eagles really like their edge rushers, athletic pass rushing, people that are dynamic, and I think he's a dynamic player, and I think that makes sense for Philadelphia. If this is how the board plays out, last pick of the draft here of the first round here at 31, I think the Chiefs, if you're the Chiefs in this spot, I mean, there's a lot of good options. You could go corner, Cam Smith, Ringo, Phillips. You could go defensive line, Brian Bresee's still there. There's other options offensively. Receiver, they obviously love their weapons. Get Quentin Johnson, get Josh Downs, get Cedric Tillman, get Rashee Rice. There's options. Get Trey Palmer, go Big Red. Go Big Red. Get a burner like Trey Palmer. Take a tight end, take Kincaid, take Michael Mayer, take Darnell Washington. This is the last pick of the draft. I'm having fun with this one. I'm giving them Darnell Washington out of Georgia for the last pick. I think Darnell Washington out of Georgia would be awesome for him. Have him play right behind Travis Kelce. Have him in those run packages. And how cool would Darnell Washington be in Kansas City? Just make the rich richer, right? So draft recap: CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, 1, 2, 3. See a little bit what else I did. I'm just going to slowly move this down for you guys. So pause if you feel like you want to take a look at it one more time. But yeah, I had a lot of fun recording this. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this mock draft. I really enjoy doing these. Like I said, I'm no expert. I don't watch tape like that. I just enjoy the NFL, enjoy college football, and I enjoy the NFL draft more than anything. But that's it for this video. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Let me know what you thought. Like I said, one more time, check out the Steelers franchise, check out the rebuilds on the channel, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.